The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. Here on Remo Central Coast, it's coming up to 10 minutes past 10. We're joined in the studio by Shirley from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. So good morning to you, Shirley.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, you've been at Dooralong quite some while, haven't you, Shirley?
I have. It's been nearly 10 months and a bit, something like that.
So coming towards the end of the programme?
Yeah, I'm in what they call re-entry, and where you transition back into the normal pathways of life.
Yeah, we've had a number of guys and girls explaining to us that sort of, that re-entry phase where they have to get sort of used to sort of living in the outside world again.
Yes, definitely. I've been granted longer leave on the weekends now, so I stay an extra day.
Is it an apprehensive time knowing that you'll be sort of graduating in, a month's time or whatever it might be for you?
Well, for me it is. Dooralong's provided such a good home for me, and it's a safe home. And if I have any worries or troubles, I've got someone constantly 24/7 to talk to. But don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to getting home, but it's a feeling that you're really on your own now. You've got to do this by yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfectly natural sort of emotion, isn't it? I'm sure everybody that's graduated from Dooralong is a little bit apprehensive when they sort of step out those gates.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
They've got to face the harsh realities.
Yeah. It's a lovely bubble to live in, but you can't live there for the rest of your life. You've got to live in the world, haven't you?
You sure have. You can't live in a bubble.
No, you've got to reconnect with friends and family.
It becomes unrealistic after a while.
Yeah.
It's not the real deal.
No, that's true. So, Shirley, you were telling me off air, and I'll share this with the viewers, it was the listeners, it was alcohol for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, just alcohol. I've never taken any drugs or smoked.
But it became a really big problem, Shirley was telling me. You started drinking, you said, at 16, and it was just the usual mum and dad introduce us to wine or whatever it might be. There was nothing special about it?
No, nothing special. I used to go to the clubs with them. They were happy for me to come, and I'd bring over a girlfriend who was 6 years older than me, so I grew up fairly quickly then. Yeah. And then continued on that I went out with my older girlfriend and we'd drink. Yeah. But nothing...
It wasn't a problem for you?
Not a problem. It was definitely a social thing.
A social drinker, yeah. So what changed Shirley from that social drinker to, well, what you've called being an alcoholic?
Well, over the years, from the time I was in my 20s to 40s, the drinking wasn't too bad, but close to 40, it was... coming of notice to me that I was drinking more, and then say from 40 to 50 it remained constant, and then I started to increase it, and it's insidious. It creeps up on you. You don't notice it so much.
So was there a trigger for this? Was there a reason that you sort of escalated your intake? Well,
part of it was my marriage. It developed cracks in it when I was in my 40s, and it came to a head on 3 occasions. The third time I called it quits, but the other 2, we had little children, 2 little boys, and I still cared for my husband very much, so we decided to give it another go. Well, it never was the same, so I used the drink to sort of drown my sorrows.
Yeah, so the drink... you started off drinking socially, but when the cracks appeared in the marriage and it looked as if you weren't going to be able to patch it up, you were turning to it as a crutch, really?
Yes, a crutch. I mean, you can only talk to people so much about your problems, but you take them all home and it's just you and your problems, so...
It was easier to turn to...
Oh, it was definitely easier.
Yeah. So what sort of level was the drinking at this stage? A sort of bottle a day, or...?
Oh, about 2 bottles a day.
This is wine we're talking, aren't we?
Yeah, wine, bubbly wine, sparkling wine.
And would that be every evening?
Yeah, every evening. So I was still functioning, I was still going to work and coping all right. But it then escalated more. It just crept into it more and more.
So by the time it came to a head, what would the consumption look like for you? What would an average day be like for you when you were at your worst?
Oh, 4 bottles a day.
4 bottles a day?
Yeah, 4 bottles. It used to knock me out. Just felt great.
And if somebody had said to you at that stage, Shirley, you're an alcoholic, would you have believed them?
Well, to me, an alcoholic was someone who did nothing, who couldn't do anything, who was living in a park and on a park bench.
Yeah.
Virtually, yeah, that sort of thing. That's what I
That
had
was
in
the
mind.
image. Yeah.
The image that's portrayed, yeah.
Yeah. But here is Shirley. She's got a nice house. And you still working at this stage?
No, I'm hoping to get volunteer work soon, and then who knows, it might lead into something else.
But at that stage, were you working when you're doing the 4 bottles a day?
Yeah, oh yes.
So somebody from the outside would have, you didn't fit the normal sort of, you didn't fit the normal sort of stereotype for an alcoholic, did you?
No,
You had
I
a
didn't.
nice house, you were working.
I've grown children.
Yeah.
And really I had everything going for me. It was just I was in an unhappy place.
Yeah. You mentioned your family. Were they really worried for you?
Yeah, they were. Many a times they'd ask me what I was doing, why I was doing it. Come on, cut it out. It's not doing any good, your health. We want you around.
Yeah.
What about your grandchildren, that sort of thing. But it just didn't go deep enough. The alcohol was deeper.
You just didn't accept that there was a problem?
No, not a real problem.
Or if that there was, that you were...
I felt I was still in control.
Yeah.
Even though I was drinking that much, I still felt I had control of my life.
Yeah. And how long did that go on for? This 4 bottles a day?
Since about 2010. No, not 4 bottles a day since 2010, but about from 2018.
Yeah.
2016, it really went heavy.
What brought it to a head? Because we know you've been at Dooralong for sort of 10 months now, so what happened just before you went to Dooralong? Because you said you didn't recognise there was a problem, you were in denial, so how did it all become apparent to you that you were going to have to do something?
Oh, well, I came home one afternoon after going to the bottle shop, and I was confronted with 12 empty bottles of wine on the kitchen table because I hadn't disposed of them yet. I used to go down the road to the council bin. I had little drop-offs on the way.
Yeah.
It was smuggling them in and out of the house that was a problem. Well, anyway, they found my stash.
They being your son?
My son and his girlfriend.
Okay.
And they found my stash, and
busted.
I just looked at it, and Craig said, "Mum, don't tell me you haven't got a problem with the drink." And I said, "Oh." So I just didn't know where to look or what to do, and they disposed of them. But then I was really under the scrutiny of both of them.
Yeah.
So it became harder, but that didn't even stop me. I just had to do it elsewhere.
Just had to be more clever or more clandestine, more secret.
Well, you get cunning.
More cunning.
You really do get cunning.
Because this has such a real hold over you, such a grip, doesn't it? That you need it.
You spend a lot of energy working out ways to get it into the house, working out ways to get it out of the house.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. It's exhausting after a while.
Yeah.
Because when the last drop runs out of the next bottle, you're worrying about your next lot.
Yeah. So it just goes on and on. It's relentless.
It's perpetual. Yeah.
So, how did you find out about Dooralong?
Well, my beautiful youngest son and his lovely girlfriend, they rang my doctor up, my GP, and they just said, "You're coming with us." And I didn't really have a choice.
They took you.
They took me, and then...
It's usually mum taking the son to the doctor, and here we got the son taking mum to the doctor.
I know, I was like a little kid. And we went into the doctors, and I had to sit there and listen to them tell him all about my bad behaviours and my actions, and I wasn't taking the medication he gave me to deter drinking, and how much I was drinking and what I was doing. And I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me, because I'd been lying to my doctor about my drinking. And he just looked at me, the doctor, and said, "Is this true?" And I just I said, "Yeah, it is." So then he had a chat to me. He said, "Look, I think you need extra help." He said, "So Dooralong is a good place to go to." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he said, "A rehabilitation centre. It's Christian based." So my son put his hand on my shoulder and looked at me, and I said, "Okay, I'll go." But I was worried. I was so worried and anxious about it.
But you've accepted then that you needed help.
That was the lowest point.
Yeah.
When people you respect are hearing about all your wrongdoings and that you've been deceitful, particularly.
Yeah.
It's an awful feeling. It is.
And you realise then that it can't go on. I'm really going to have to do something.
I really, that moment on, I thought, well, this is it. You know, it's now or never. And I had tried to give it up myself, but I'd gone a day. And I think, well, I've gone a day, but then, no, I just...
No, you need professional help.
Need professional help.
It's a disease.
Well, yeah, it's a holistic thing. It's physically, mentally, spiritually. It's a whole package.
And some of those issues which prompted the heavy drinking in the first place, surrounding the marriage breakdown and all the rest of it, those things need to be addressed as well, I suppose. You know, trying to find out the reason for the drink rather than just treat the symptoms of it all.
Well, it's just I got myself into a state where I didn't think things were important anymore in life. I felt I'd lived it. I've done everything that I was going to do. That there wasn't much of a future left for me.
That's worrying, isn't it?
It was a depressive way to look at things. And I was in depression. I've been treated for that.
Yeah. So, doctor mentions Dooralong. Your son sort of, well, in inverted commas, sort of insists that you takes his mum to Dooralong. Yeah. Was it like you expected it to be when you got there? No,
it wasn't. It was very lovely.
Nice.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Beautiful place to get better, to heal.
Yeah.
And, I was quietly happy. Very happy.
And it must be there's something right about that place for you because you've been there for 10 months now, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
So from being a very reluctant sort of entrant, you've really sort of blossomed.
Yeah.
Found yourself.
I found myself, and I've addressed the depression problems and about life, and I found out that I have got a life to live, and I've been given a second chance, or a new chance.
Yeah.
To ditch the old Shirley and embrace the new
yourself?
one. Well, it's a reboot, and it's opened my eyes a lot.
Good.
And to be thinking with clarity.
Yeah.
Not to be in a haze. I mean, I couldn't make decisions. I procrastinate over everything nearly, and then I catastrophise over things if I thought too far ahead.
Yeah.
What I'd be doing and how I would do it. It just it's changed my life. It's very life changing.
Yeah.
Literally.
Well, we're going to break for some more music. We'll come back and talk to Shirley, maybe talk about some of those sort of coping strategies that she's been talking about, and some of the other things that have been happening for her during those 10 months at Dooralong. But we're going to listen to Toby Mack, who's coming up to 27 minutes past 10. We're talking to Shirley this morning. Shirley's been at Dooralong for 10, I was going to say long months, but does it feel like a long time, Shirley?
No, definitely not. To begin with, because you're just getting into things and learning about things that the 10-week program that I thought I was doing seemed a long time, but as soon as I kicked in and started working the program and working through the steps and talking to people and caseworkers, I got into it, and it's flown. It really has.
So did you think that it was only going to be a 10-week stay?
Well, that's what my doctor suggested. I said, well, how long do I go for? He said 10 weeks, and I was horrified at that to begin with. I thought 10 weeks away from home.
Yeah.
God, how am I going to survive?
And here you are 10 months later.
10 months.
Yeah.
So, once, as I said, once I kicked into it, got my teeth stuck into it, I just flew. Every day flies. Your day's full.
What's a typical day look like for you?
Well, it happens in stages. In induction, you're busy all morning. You go to your workstations in the afternoon, and then you have in-house meetings of an evening. And at that stage, we had to go to at least 3 in-house meetings. So, you could go to more. I went to more. And then it gradually changes over level 1 and level 2. You move up a notch in the depth of the groups you attend, the discussions, the topics. And then when you come to re-entry, you have a lot more time. And I picked up some enhancement work. I did a Cert 2 in community services through Dooralong, which I'm very grateful for. It's led me now to be very interested in doing a Cert 4 in community services, so I'll tackle that next year. Yeah.
So the days sound as if they're really full. It's not just you have your group meetings, but there's the work that you have to do and all these other meetings that you've got to go to.
Yeah,
so
and
you're busy.
Busy, and in between that you see your caseworker once a week.
Yeah.
And have a good chat with her on how you're going and what you're feeling. And she'll offer her advice or her guidance.
Yeah.
Mine's been invaluable. Her name's Julie, and she's just oh, she's just fabulous.
She's a treasure.
She's an absolute treasure.
Yeah.
Very easy to talk to. We're on the same page.
We had somebody, I forget his name now, it was 4 or 5 weeks ago, who said that he's only really come to know himself since he's been at Dooralong. Before, he didn't know who he was, and that may have been part of the problem. Do you have a sense of the same, that you've really discovered who you are as a person?
A good portion of it, because it's all about respecting yourself and loving yourself.
Yeah.
And I've not really ever done that, love myself, because being a mum, it all goes to the children. And you put yourself last, normally. So that was a new thing for me, to actually take care of myself. Say, you are entitled to this, you are...
Yeah, you're valuable.
You're valuable. Where I'd felt that I'd lost my value once my children had grown and moved away.
Yeah.
But, see, this stage of life, if I had stayed married, we would have been doing what we planned to do when we were younger, which was go around Australia, travel a bit. But all that just went out the window once the marriage.
So there is a sense in which you've got to grieve for those lost dreams in some way?
Yeah, I do. I look at other people doing things with a partner and I think, oh, gee, you know, I'd love that, but it just hasn't happened.
No. But you're at Dooralong, you've been there for 10 months. You're feeling good about yourself now?
Very much so, yeah. Things like that don't worry me as much either.
No.
It's just I've got to accept this is the hand I've been dealt, and I've got to make the best of it with the time left I have. So,
and a sober Shirley's going to make a much better sort of go of it than
I think
the alcoholic Shirley.
I really think so. I feel free.
Yeah.
I feel relieved that it's hopefully finished. As I said, I've got to be tested yet, but that it's...
But you've had weekend leave and things like this.
And it's been great, and not having to have it revolve around alcohol. And my girlfriend said to me, you know, that she did notice I was drinking a lot, but she didn't like to say anything. I kind of understand that, because she wouldn't have wanted to offend me or worry me. But she said, I did notice you were drinking a bit when we went out.
You thought it was all being done in secret and nobody knew, but people close to you probably recognised it as an issue.
Well, you're silly. You're silly to think you can fool them. I mean, they can smell it. They can, the way you talk, the way you even look. You look Google-eyed, you know.
Yeah. And the 12 bottles on the kitchen table is a bit of a giveaway, Shirley.
Well, it was just a little one, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty big sign.
It was, it was a bit of a slap in the bush.
Yeah.
So.
Now, your doctor told you it was run by the Salvation Army. It was a Christian-based organisation. So you knew that before you got there. And anyway, I think we all know Salvos are sort of Christian-based. How did that side of things sort of sit with you?
I was curious about it. I wasn't a church person and not a follower of the Lord, so I went to Bible study meeting, Christianity Explained, and I found it interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
So I treated it like it was a history lesson to learn who this person was and what he did and so forth. But the spirituality thing, I was struggling with early on finding, a higher power. It didn't happen
wasn't
for
working
me.
for you.
Wasn't working. I thought, why isn't it working for me? What am I doing?
Why has everybody else got it? Not.
And I haven't. I thought he'd forgotten about me. You know? But gradually that increased, and I came to feel a presence, a consciousness there. So I talk to it, and I pray in the evening.
And I suppose that is a definition of God. It's a feeling of a presence. It's knowing that there is a presence, a spiritual presence.
Yeah, feels like it's an extension of myself.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased in that respect, because now when things happen to me or an event comes up, I know I'm not alone. I can...
There's somebody...
There's something, someone, anything. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there to help if I reach out for it.
Yeah. And you were talking earlier on about it being a little bit sort of daunting, the thought of leaving Dooralong, but if you continue to go to a Salvos church, is that on the agenda for you?
Oh, definitely. The one at Bonnells Bay I'll be regularly attending.
Yeah.
I enjoy the community atmosphere there. The people there are nice.
Yeah.
And they do some good sermons.
They'll keep you grounded.
They will keep me grounded, yeah. And the socialisation of it too.
Yeah, that's right, the fellowship.
The fellowship.
Yeah, meeting people and just have social outings together, and And
I get that at the meetings we go to, the AA meetings. I go to 3 a week at the moment, but when I get out I'll increase that.
Yeah.
because I'll be freer.
Okay, well, we're going to break for some more music, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about what's going to happen when you graduate in about a month's time. It's 20 to 11. We're talking to Shirley, who graduates from Dooralong in end of July, did you say, Shirley?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what are you going to fill your life with once you leave Dooralong? What are your hopes and dreams?
Well, to continue on the path I'm going.
Of course.
To spiritually be fulfilled.
Yeah.
My health.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw that away again.
No.
So my health's another thing, and my mental health as well, to keep it busy, to keep my mind busy.
Yes, yes.
And undertake things that I've wasted time with before, put it off, put it on the back burner, or just, I can't do that, that attitude. So that's all going out the window. So I want to live a productive life, a useful life.
And you've got a couple of children, you were telling me?
Yeah, I've got 2 boys. One's 35 at the end of the year and one's 30 coming up shortly. They've been marvellous. I'm very proud of them. One's a mechanical engineer and the other one mining. He's in another job now. He's hoping to go up through the ranks and do so. They haven't put a step wrong for me, so I can't even say I've got problems with my kids to add to it. But no, they've been very, very good, very good.
And there must have been a period in their lives, a long period in their lives, when they felt that they were losing Mum, that they would have missed you.
Yeah, well, the youngest one did admit to me if that hadn't worked, the time I went to the GP, he said he didn't know what to do, he was going to give up. And that would have been an awful thing for him, to put him in that position where he couldn't take it anymore. He had his own life to deal with, and, to have Mum being involved in their lives at one time, being very involved when they were growing up. I used to manage my youngest son's soccer team, used to coach them as well, and that sort of mother who'd go out there for them and then just become this person who locks herself away in the room and looks at at the bottom of a bottle every night. It was very sad. I know how I would feel. Now I can look back at it.
It's true, isn't it, what they say about any addiction, really? It doesn't just sort of affect the person who's in addiction, it affects deeply those that are around them as well.
Well, it's like the ripple effect. You drop a stone into a pond and you get all the ripples forming out from it, and it does go further. It affects my friends and, of course, my family and, rallies that I had,
So you got lots of good family times with your 2 boys and their partners in life, so lots of birthdays and good times with them. You also mentioned, I think when we first started speaking, that you hoped as well that you might be able to do some sort of volunteer community work or something of that nature. Yeah,
I'm interested in helping the aged care if possible, with activities or just someone to talk to or read them a book. I've got my feelers out with the Hammond people at the moment, where they match you up with an elderly person and you visit them at their home and have a cup of tea and a chat.
That would be a terrific thing to do, because a lot of elderly people, we're living so much longer these days that they sometimes are the only ones left of their family, aren't they? And they have nobody else. And it'd be nice to visit and
Well, experiencing loneliness as I have, particularly in addiction, I can only I can sympathise with them. I've got empathy with them, and I know to sit there all day and not see a new face, to have a bit of a chat with, no matter what it's about.
Especially if they're housebound and can't get around.
Just to have that interaction of a day must mean a lot to them.
Be the highlight, maybe the highlight of the week for them. Who knows? Well, that somebody's come round and had a chat and a cup of tea.
That's right. It's pretty simple, isn't it? They don't want much.
No. So that would be a terrific thing to do. And you've done your Cert 2 in community service. Thinking about doing Cert 4, so there are possibilities there. You've got that time to reconnect and do all those things with your wonderful family. What about any other things? Travelling, does that interest you? Or?
I always wanted to go around Australia. I'd love to see that, but I wouldn't mind dabbling overseas. My roots come from England. I was born there and came out here when I was 5 years old.
I'll just let the listeners know that it turns out that we used to live in England not very far apart from each other. I lived most of my life in a place called Chester, and Shirley was born in Cheshire. So, there you go.
So I wouldn't mind going around and having a look. I did have my cousins come out in 2009 and they are in Scotland, in Kelso, so I wouldn't mind going up there and check the highlands out. And
sounds as if you're going to have quite a full and fruitful sort of time when you've left Dooralong. There are things that you want to do.
Yeah, I really have got some goals.
Yeah, you've got your church, you've got your community work, you've got your family, you're thinking of travelling.
Yeah. So I don't want to waste any more time. No. When opportunities come, I want to grab them and run with them.
That's super.
Yeah.
It's been a life change. You must thank that doctor time and time again for just mentioning the words Dooralong on that. If he hadn't said it, who knows?
Who knows? I don't know where I would have been. Probably
and thank your son and his girlfriend for dragging you kicking and screaming to the doctors.
It was awful. I don't recommend it to anybody, but it did me good.
Yeah.
But I can't thank Dooralong enough, the care that they've given me, as I said, for spiritually, mentally, physically. I can't speak more highly of them. The caseworkers, they do a marvellous job. All the staff there, the support staff, everybody's just been so
terrific,
so good to me. My experience has been that. So, I would recommend it if you're out there. Give it a go.
And like we've said so many times, the person who entered Dooralong, in this case Shirley, the Shirley that entered Dooralong 10 months ago is not the Shirley that's walking out of the gates in a few weeks' time.
No, I was a sad, sorry, broken mess when I went in. Sad,
sorry and broken.
Broken,
And now you're mended, hopeful and whole.
Yeah. The Band-Aids are off.
The Band-Aids are off.
And I'm
terrific.
Ready to go.
We're really pleased about that. Thank you so much for coming in, Shirley. We pray God's continued blessing on your life and guidance and strength as you leave Dooralong and start doing some of these other wonderful things that you have in mind. That'd be terrific.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
No, our pleasure, believe it. You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.